You can have it all. Did I just misspeak? Not exactly. I'm actually quoting a mom business mentor of mine who looked me in the eye and said that very same thing to me last year. And now I'm saying it to you. She also followed up quickly and boldly confronted me with the fact that she made sure to emphasize that where I could have it all, it doesn't mean all and everything at the same time. Ooh, did that hit you? That hit me so good because for months I'd been trying to juggle it all. I'm talking motherhood, wifehood, business, and a personal life outside of all of those roles. Now, Mama, do you feel like that too? Say you have big goals, but you're drowning under the chaos of it all. If so, this episode is totally for you. I'm bringing on one of my dear friends and fellow mompreneur mentor, Juliana Barbati. She's the host of the Organic Marketing Simplified podcast. I'm bringing her on to share with you how she personally does it all. Balances a successful six-figure business, all while maintaining a healthy relationship with her husband and parenting her two little girls whom she also homeschools. I am telling you, you do not want to miss this episode. If you're a mama who has ambitions and wants to learn a better work-life balance, get ready to take notes and grow today. Let's do it, Mama. Hey, Mama, welcome to the Energized Mama podcast. Do you want a better work-life balance and more time and energy? Do you find yourself thinking, how can I add more hours into the day? Or are you Googling how to deal with mom guilt and can my marriage survive toddlers? Do you wake up with big goals only to feel overwhelmed and defeated when you have no one to help you and your littles aren't listening to you again? Hey, I'm Cheyanne. I too was an exhausted mom away from the help of my family. I too felt constantly drained with a strong-willed toddler and wished I could find balance between being a wife, a mom, stepmom, and entrepreneur. I wanted more energy to give myself and my husband, to discipline my kids confidently, and incorporate faith into our home. All the things, right? But I kept telling myself that I couldn't do it feeling this exhausted and without a community supporting around me. Until I found a healthy balance and endless energy in raising Jesus-loving littles. In this podcast, you will find that too. You will find time and energy boosting tips and tricks, guidance for disciplining your littles, and what to do when you have no help so that you will find balance between all your roles. Stop feeling drained and learn to trust your own mom tuition. Time to grab those headphones, pour that green smoothie, and get ready to get your daily energy boost. I've got you, Mama. All right, lovely ladies, as I shared, today's topic is a good one. We have something that you have been requesting in my Facebook group, you've been sharing about in the reviews on Apple Podcasts. And if you're anything like me, you have this desire in your heart to not only be a great mom, but a great business owner. And you want to do both, but it's a little overwhelming to do it all, right? And so I have a very special guest on my podcast today, someone who is a familiar voice. She was on earlier in the summer, and I'm just so happy to have her on again. She first shared her faith story, and now she's here to share with us a little bit more about just her journey into all of the things of balancing life, family, homeschool, business. And so you guys have already heard that it is Juliana. She's had a beautiful introduction to the show. And now I just want to dive in. And Juliana, I'm just curious, you have found success in two things that moms often don't always mix together, but they want to, right? School and business. And so often for so long, I feel like those two things, especially since the 1950s or 60s, when moms started working outside the home, those two things became so separate. School, my kids go to school, they go to a building with teachers, and then now I'm working outside the home. But now I feel in the 21st century, especially maybe in the past 5-10 years, I've seen this rise of moms wanting to take more control back into their hands and bring more of that into the home, go back into the home, have their business, teach their kids, have their cake and eat it too, right? But it is really hard. Just like with parenthood, you don't get a guidebook on how to do all that. So I'm curious, first and foremost, if you would just share with my audience, how did you get into this lifestyle? Like, did you start with having a business first, or did you homeschool first, or did you do both at the same time?
Okay. So before I had kids, before I even met my husband, I had a neighbor who was a teacher, and she told me one day, listen, you're going to have kids, homeschool them. Do not send them to school. And this teacher, she was dedicated. She was like the teacher who went out and bought like all the extra supplies, who did a lot of research. And she was in it. Like she loved what she did. And when she told me that, I was like, okay, like we're doing it. I don't know what that means, but sure, you know? And when I was pregnant with my daughter, this was back in 2015, I was like, we're going to homeschool this kid, you know, like we had expectations. And then I met my daughter and I was like, no, kid, I am not going to homeschool you. There's no way, because we're night and day, you know, so I am chill, I'm laid back. And my daughter, you know, she's alive, she's energetic, and we're the opposites, you know. She doesn't listen to me, and such is life. She makes a point not to listen to me. She's not like most kids don't listen to their parents. Like she goes out of her way not to listen to me. So, you know, I'm a little bit of a hippie. So I've always found, you know, the alternative schools, you know, the Montessori's, the Waldorfs of the world to send my kids to. And in 2021, my husband and I were living in Italy, and we were making our way back to the United States. And we were looking for schools because we work from home, it was flexible for us. You know, we can just go where the school is for our kids. And we found a Waldorf school that was also a public school. So a charter school. Yes. So, you know, here we are in Italy, and we entered the lottery for this charter school all the way in Jacksonville, Florida, and we get in, and it was great. We're like, okay, let's pack our bags and go. But some things started happening after we got to the school, like some policies started to change, and I was not happy with it. And I was just like, okay, this is it. I'm going to pull my kids out. There was like nothing else, you know, I would have done. We had looked into private, because up until that point we had spent, you know, a lot of money in private schools, but we were just tired of it because it's like literally a mortgage payment, if not more. And we have 2 kids. So my husband and I like look at each other and we're like, you know what? Not only do we keep finding ourselves in the situations that things happen in the school, we're not happy with it. Things are changing rapidly, right? Like since 2020, so some things came out, right? Like things are being taught in schools that I don't agree with. So I'm like, you know what? I just want to keep my kids safe, and I don't want to have to undo things that they hear in school. And they spend quite a bit of time at school. So it would have to be a lot of things to undo every single day. So my husband and I decided we were going to homeschool. It was challenging at first because it was a new thing, right? But one of the things that kind of helped us was, of course, because my husband was home. So I'm not going to sit here and lie to you that, oh, it was so easy, you know, and I did it all by myself, because no, I had help. My husband was home, but my husband, you know, he used to work before, like he was the breadwinner, and all of a sudden I became the breadwinner, and then my husband was the one with the kids. So there was a lot of transition that happened all at once, and it was stressful. Like for a while, my husband like went through like an identity crisis, because, you know, it was kind of like, in a way, I guess it was like affecting his masculinity, right? Like one day he's like, you know, going out and making money, and the next day he's like looking at 2 kids, like fighting all day long, you know?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of trial and error for us to get to a place where we were like, okay, we feel solid about this. And now, you know, we've been doing it. It is now 2023. So like a little bit over 2 years, right? Can do math right now. No, a year and a half. I don't know. It's been a while. I'm not pregnant, but I have mom break. But anyway, and it's great. And like, I couldn't think of sending my kids to school now, because I just love homeschooling so much.
Wow.
It's just such a blessing to have them with me all day. And, you know, it comes with its challenges, right?
Yeah.
But I just love having my kids with me, and knowing that I'm keeping them safe, and that the things that they're learning are things that are feeding their minds, right? That are good things that I don't have to worry about. You know, what did they learn at school today that I'm not going to hear about for another few months, you know? So that was kind of like the journey. We're just put in a situation where we kind of didn't have a choice, and we went for it.
Wow. That is so encouraging. And I love that you shared the journey, because for so many families, right? It's for some, it is an automatic, like I want to homeschool, and they just do it from the get-go. Some fall into homeschooling because of situations. Like you said, I think I see more and more people
aiming their family in that direction because of that, having a sense of control over what their kids are learning, what's being poured into their hearts and their spirit. And then there's some like you that maybe had the heart to homeschool and then was like, oh, no way. What was I thinking? And then come back to it, So I love that the catalyst to all of this was you wanting something better for your children and like making that stand and that step as a family. And just if I can clarify, Juliana, so instead, I feel like it's really neat about your story is that I see sometimes moms who they become moms, they maybe leave their corporate job, or maybe it was always their intention to be a stay-at-home mom, but however it happens, they're maybe at home and then they decide, okay, homeschool is the path. Like I want to choose this for my child, but then I want to also have like a side income or I want to have a business as well. But for you guys, it was more of you already had a business, correct? And then you incorporate homeschool into your business flow.
Correct. So in 2015, when I was pregnant with my daughter, my husband and I knew that after my daughter was born, I was going to stop working and stay home with her. Mm-hmm. And it was like, we were on the same page. It was just like a plan that we're on the same page about this plan. This is happening. But, back then my husband and I were so broke. My husband had just moved from Italy to the United States. I had to work because I was getting his immigration paperwork. So I had no choice. And it was so terrible because I had like the worst morning sickness, like all throughout my pregnancy. And there was no way out. So then I knew that the timing of it all was going to be so that my husband, at that point, after I could stop working, my husband was then going to be the one working and I was going to stay home with the baby, but it was going to be tight, So around 2015, I had really learned about the power of YouTube and becoming an influencer and all those things. So I had this idea that I was going to become an influencer, like a mommy influencer, and like show them, my 12 baby must-haves and like all these things. I thought that's who I was going to become. Turns out that's not really my personality. I've tried vlogging before. I start a vlog and 2 hours later, I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. So it's really not meant for me. But, it kind of like set the motion of, okay, I want to work from home. How can I make this happen? So then fast forward to 2018, by now I had my second baby and my husband stumbled upon e-commerce. So then we started an Amazon store. And a few months later, like literally, we learned about Amazon in January 2018. We launched, I think, in March. And then in May, my husband quit his job. Mind you, it's not like the business was doing well when we quit. We had hoped the business was going to do well. And my husband was like, this is it. It's our ticket out. We're going to be so rich. And that didn't happen. Like it took us a while. Our business didn't make 6 figures until like 2 years after, so we kind of prematurely made some choices, but that's neither here nor there. But that's how we kind of landed, so as I was pregnant and thinking about the future, that's when entrepreneurship kind of started to, this idea started to come about, but, my business really didn't take off up until, I started this business, my podcast management agency in May I'm getting my timelines because there's so much timeline and like 2020 is like, was that yesterday? I don't remember.
Right.
But it was 2022. That's when I officially started my podcast management agency. And I started that because in 2020, I started my podcast. But in the beginning of my podcasting journey, I was talking to moms who wanted, their e-commerce store. So by this time I had an Etsy shop along with the Amazon store. So I was really having a lot of success. And then after a year and a half of podcasting on e-commerce, and me realizing that I had said everything I could possibly say about that space, I found myself like, okay, I have to make a pivot because I cannot talk about e-commerce anymore. And that's when I decided to pivot into podcast management. And let me just tell you that, for the mamas out there who are in the space of, I have not yet started my business, but I want to start a business and retire my husband. It's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. I wish I'd known that because you're like, I'm an independent woman. I'm going to make so much money. But then when the reality sets in that you're the only one making money, it's very stressful. It is very stressful. So just like prepare yourself for that, because it's not what everybody says it is. Like, oh, you're so independent. Like, it's a lot of pressure that you have on yourself, because like suddenly, like you're literally the only one making money. So, I just kind of like wanted to put it out there that it's okay to have that goal, but just know that there's a lot of stress that comes with that goal. It's not all rainbows and unicorns and glitter.
Exactly. And I appreciate that. That's what I love. And I really protect here on my podcast is I really want, excuse me, I want moms to get real with each other. It's like, right, we're here to talk about the real stuff. And especially if you're a mom that really wants to make this happen in your everyday life, this is what you need to know, and I'm sure that goes also with homeschooling, that like you even said in the beginning, that it's not, all unicorns and roses and all that from the beginning either. It is like a ebb and flow and learning and growing, especially as your children grow and they change, their development changes, your business is also going to change. Something that I wanted to make sure that I brought up again that you said or you showed is that, though I feel like you and your husband both took some really big leaps of faith. It's like what's that phrase? It's like you did it before you even saw the provision. It's like you trusted that the provision was going to be there, but you definitely had to take some risks, and I know sometimes as moms, we become a mom and we become this like mama bear. And sometimes I feel, at least in myself, sometimes I realize like, you don't want to necessarily take as much risk because now you've got people depending on you and it's scary and what's the right thing to do. So I love though that even though you've kept it real, even though you said like, hey, you're going to have some challenging times and it's not going to be easy. And, it may not always work out or as fast as you want. It seems like for you guys, it was still worth it. And so now I'm curious if you would share a little bit of how do you make it all work? Like, so you've got this successful business, you shared that. And I love numbers. I love numbers on a podcast. You shared that you made over 6 figures. So you've got this thriving, successful business and you have children, 2 littles that you are raising at home and homeschooling. So could you share with us a little bit of how you balance that? Like, especially because it's the 2 of you at home working as well, which I know can feel like, oh, there's more help, but there's also 2 people now working out of the home, right? There's nobody outside in a office building or total focus all the time. So how do you guys make that work in your home?
Yeah. So where I am now, because I moved to Central America about 8 months ago, it's different for me because I have help. So we had a huge lifestyle upgrade once we moved to Central America. So I'm not going to sit here and lie to you that, I'm doing everything, that I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, because we have help, so I have a girl who comes in and she's amazing. She cooks and she cleans. So she took that off my plate. Now, what did it look like when I lived in the United States? So back in the US, we had to get very creative because it was just my husband and I. There was no help. A babysitter was like super expensive. Yeah. So what we did was we always tried new things because, as you know, with kids, like, 1 week they love avocados, the next week they hate it because they're changing so fast. And it's the same thing with routines, right? So the thing that you did your entire life one day doesn't work anymore. So the flexibility is super important. So there was a phase in our lives where we would pack up lunch and snacks and our computer and our hotspot, and we would go to the playground and the kids would play and I would work at the park. And that was great. Especially Florida, North Florida in like the so-called winter, it was like the perfect weather to be outside. That worked really well until it didn't. So then after that, my husband would take the kids and we discovered this climbing gym, and the kids would go there and we signed up for the membership, and my husband would take the kids and the kids would just climb all day long and I would stay home and work. One thing that I would always do is that I would meal prep for the week. Like, I know you have heard before about meal prepping, but do it because it like really sets you up for success. So, I would make a bunch of rice, a bunch of beans, and, one day it would be like a burrito bowl. The next day it would be a burrito. The next day it would be a taco. I was just like changing how I was delivering the food, but it was like, it's easy. It literally takes 5 minutes for me to warm all of this up and call it a day. And we're out the door, we're eating, we're healthy, we're fed. And I also made it a point to do like a, air quote, deeper cleaning on the weekends, because I really wasn't deep cleaning. It was just more of a, a better cleaning, but during the week I would make sure to do something, to make sure that the house is clean. So we'd pick up the toys and things like that. Even though at that time we lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment and I could walk back and forth with my little cleaning supplies, I actually went ahead and bought like cleaning supplies for the 2 bathrooms, and I left it there so that, if I was brushing my teeth or something or whatever, I could like just clean the bathroom really quickly and, spray some cleaning products and call it a day and walk out, so that I could kind of keep the momentum going and like not ever get to a space where it was like, oh man, like I haven't cleaned this house in a month and everything is disgusting and we're sticking to the floor. So like taking those like little baby steps to make sure that things are always flowing. And then also, this is the most important thing for like parenthood, is if you can do something today, just do it. Don't wait until tomorrow, because, a kid will wake up sick or like something will happen. Like, so don't wait. If there's something that can be done today, just be disciplined and do it. And like, listen, I'm not the most disciplined person in the world. I have to like fight hard to be disciplined, but having that thinking ahead of, if something can go wrong, it'll go wrong. And I'm not trying to be negative here, but I was just trying to set myself up for success. So I would always try to get ahead of things. So I was never in a situation or, trying to limit the situations that you're like, oh, snap, everything went wrong. So always just trying to be ahead of the game.
Wow. That is gold right there. Like that's worth, I'm going to pause this podcast when I record it, re-listen and apply it. Cause it's so great though. It is all those practical little steps that make it all possible. And that's what you've shown here today. I love it, is that it's finding like your team. I feel too, is like you've painted that. I love that you showed in different seasons of your life, because we know change is the only for sure thing in life. Change is always going to happen. So in one season, your husband and you were more like a team and you worked more together. And now where you're at now, you have a little bit more help. And so it gives mamas out there full permission to shift, to change, and then just take like those little practical steps. What I love that you shared, Juliana, is that I love that what you shared actually was more about kind of managing the everyday stuff versus like sometimes I think as mompreneurs and as teachers, as we aim to teach our kids, we can get so consumed on, well, how do I choose the right books for my child? And how do I make sure they're getting enough math work? And how do I choose the right homeschool group for them to get with? Or how do I make sure that I have systems for my business? But it's sometimes all that other stuff that drains us from keeping our eye on the ball and keeping us focused on the other things. So that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, because even from you just sharing those practical steps, I even am like, wow, you've painted it how it's possible. You've given moms out there who are wondering, what would be some great intentional steps? Again, just re-listen to this podcast and see too, through Juliana's example, that it's possible. Sometimes as moms, I think we just need someone, that has paved the path that is there. And, for my moms who are listening, who would love to continue to connect with you, who want to keep learning from you, who would love to just say, hey, mama, I so resonate with that. Oh my gosh, that's me. How can they connect with you after this podcast?
Yeah, so I have my podcast. It's called Organic Marketing Simplified. And I really aim to keep my episodes, 20 minutes and less, just so that you can come in, you can listen. And I give practical advice that you can actually go and apply to your business so you can see something change, right? Because I don't want you to come listen to my episode and be inspired. I actually want you to take action. And like, I'm a huge action taker. It's like the strategist in me. Like, I just want to give you the strategy. I have a problem, I have a solution. Let's just go. Let's just do this thing. That's my personality. So yeah, again, that's Organic Marketing Simplified. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not an Instagram person. But if you want to shoot me a message, you can just shoot me a message on Facebook, and we'll chat through there too.
Awesome. Well, no worries, mama. If you got your headphones in and you're picking your kids up from school, or maybe you're washing the dishes, I've got the show notes for you, the links in the show notes below. So I'll make sure you can connect to Juliana right away. And I just want to say thank you. I want to say muchas gracias. I want to say grazie in your husband's native language. Just want to say thank you so much for joining us here today and sharing with us. As you've said, I am such a nerd for like tangible tactical tips that I can go through and do right now. So thank you for pouring out so much wisdom today. And it's been an honor to have you on my podcast again.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, we love you. Ladies, thank you so much for truly participating, for not just listening, but involving yourself and your energy and your passion here at Mom Nation. And I look forward to connecting with you on a future episode here very soon. God bless.
Is infertility causing you emotional distress? How would you feel if I told you that you're not alone and that there is a brighter way out? I know, Mama, because I've been there. You'll learn how to reset your faith, your feelings, and your emotional twists and turns, and take inspiration from stories from other women. I want you to grab your copy of I'm Fruitful, an infertility support magazine that will help you rekindle your faith after infertility, forgive yourself, and experience grace after such a challenging experience. Join their IG community at I'm Fruitful of supportive women who have been through the same thing as you, as me, and you'll never feel alone again. Hey, Mama, do you wish there was a way to stop feeling emotionally drained by your life as a mom of littles? Do you wish you could have more energy for your husband without constantly feeling just totally physically exhausted? I know what it feels like to want more from your life than just being a mom. I know what it feels like to be overwhelmed with, where to begin to stop the stress in my everyday life, and to have no idea what healthy habits to implement into my own home that'll actually make a difference. I also know what it feels like to be totally lost and how to create a realistic and sustainable plan that works for me in my home. And I know what it feels like to just think that you just can't be energetic while you parent a household full of littles that demand so much of you. At least one that doesn't rely on either coffee for energy or wine to distress. Am I right? Well, now I want you to imagine if you no longer felt completely exhausted at the end of your day. Imagine if you had the time to go on dates with your husband and you had the energy to give yourself some much needed me time. And if you had easy to implement systems and strategies that would allow you to be that energetic and vibrant mama you want to be, all at the same time while still raising your kids the exact way you want. Well, I have great news for you. That's why I created the More Energy Method, a customized blueprint to clear your chaos and bring back more energy into your everyday life. It's where I teach you to decrease stress while increasing your energy. You will be able to stick with this super simple plan, tailor-made for you, by the way, that will establish new healthy habits that'll unlock energy without taking away focus from your kids or require huge commitments of time. You will walk away with crystal clear clarity of exactly what to focus on. You'll walk away with a plan that'll help you exactly know how to do it, and with the confidence as a woman, wife, and mother to make the changes you need to and keep them for good. So mama, if you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed and exhausted the moment you wake up and instead feel rejuvenated throughout the day and go to bed satisfied, even as a busy mom of littles, then there's no time like the present to take this step for yourself when you right now can actually get 20% off during the month of April and May. This offer will expire come June 1st, and I think we can both agree you deserve this freedom right now. Plus, when you buy now, you get my special bonus where I show you exactly how to implement this blueprint with your husband and unlock his own energy too. So go. Head to energyformoms.com. I even have the link below to make it very simple for you. It's time to lose the stress while gaining yourself back and have endless amounts of energy for yourself, your husband, and a life beyond just your littles.